There was a food joint by the roadside, small and simple, but no one in the town could resist its pull. Smoke curled from the open fire, carrying the scent of sizzling suya, jollof rice, pepper soup, and plantains fried to golden perfection. The hut itself was nothing special, just a zinc roof held up by wooden poles, a few rough benches, and an old wooden table that had seen years of eager hands digging into hot, steaming meals. But the magic was in the woman who ran it. Her name was Abeni. She was beautiful, too beautiful for someone selling food by the roadside. Her deep brown skin glowed in the sun, and her eyes carried secrets no one could quite uncover. She had a way of smiling that made people feel like they belonged. And her food? It wasn't just food. It was comfort, warmth, and home all in one plate. No one knew where Abeni came from. One day, she was just there, her fire burning, her food tasting like it had been blessed by the gods. People asked, but she brushed off their questions with a laugh. My sister, why are you so interested in my life? Just eat and enjoy, she would say. Unlike other food sellers, she never closed early. Even at midnight, if you passed by her hut, you would still see her stirring a pot over the fire. And yet, she was always the first to open before dawn, before the first cock crowed. People whispered, "How does she do it? Does she ever sleep?" But nobody could place what exactly was wrong, except Papilo. Papilo was the town's biggest womanizer. Tall, full of swagger, and always smelling of expensive cologne, he believed there was no woman he could not get. The day he saw Abeni, he set his mind on her. "I go run this one," he told his friends, slapping his chest. Every day, Papilo showed up at her hut, eating slowly, watching her with the eyes of a hunter. "Fine woman like you. Why are you here sweating over a fire? Come make I take care of you," he would tease. Abeni would only laugh. "Papilo, eat your food before it gets cold." Papilo was persistent. He brought her gifts, gold earrings, expensive wrappers, perfumes that smelled like fresh flowers. Abeni rejected them all. "I know they need all these things," she would say. But Papilo did not stop. He believed he could get any woman he wanted. One day, frustrated, he asked, "Abeni, why are you like this? You know they like man?" Abeni looked at him for a long time before speaking. "Papilo, I don't just fall for any man. My life is not as simple as you think." "Then tell me," Papilo pressed. Abeni sighed. "I don't have family here. It's just me and my brother. When the time is right, I will bring him." "Only one brother?" "Yes, just one." Papilo should have asked more questions, but he didn't. He was too busy chasing her, thinking only of how he would win. One strange evening, Abeni surprised everyone. She finally said yes. Nobody understood why. Maybe she was tired of refusing. Maybe she had her own reasons. But Papilo was too happy to care. The wedding was grand. Abeni was breathtaking, wrapped in fabrics so fine they shimmered under the sun. The town came out in numbers, dancing and singing, celebrating with them. Then something strange happened. Abeni brought a man named Tamaji. "This is my brother," she introduced. People whispered. For over 3 years, no one had ever seen Abeni with a single relative. Now, on her wedding day, she had a brother. But Papilo was too busy celebrating himself. He had won. He had married the most beautiful woman in town. Not long after, Abeni gave birth to 2 sons, Kofi and Kwame. She adored her children, teaching them how to cook, how to know when the meat was soft, how to blend spices to perfection. Papilo, on the other hand, did not change. Marriage and fatherhood did not stop his ways. He still flirted, still whispered sweet words into the ears of other women. He was too busy enjoying himself to think deeply about his wife's past. Instead of asking questions, he was chasing skirts. Then came the day everything changed. A traveler arrived in town, tired and hungry. "Where fit get better food?" he asked. "Go to Abeni's hut," someone told him. The man followed the smell of pepper soup and jollof rice, found a seat and ordered his meal. Abeni turned to serve him. Their eyes met. The traveler's spoon dropped from his fingers. "You," he gasped, his face draining of color. Abeni's body flickered, like a candle in the wind. Then, she vanished. Screams filled the air. The traveler, still shaking, turned to the crowd. She died 2 years ago in another city. We buried her with our own hands." Silence fell. Papilo, who had been eating, felt his heart stop. Abeni? A ghost? The woman he had loved, touched, had children with, had disappeared into thin air. Days passed, but the town did not recover. Papilo sat in his house, staring at Kofi and Kwame. Who were these children? Were they the children of a ghost? And what about Tamaji, the so-called brother? He had disappeared too, like he was never real. People whispered, "What will happen to Papilo now? Who are these children, really?" Papilo was lost. At night, he sat outside, looking at the stars. "God," he whispered, "what have I done?" His appetite disappeared. His laughter was gone. His heart was full of regret. Instead of flirting around, he should have done his research. He should have asked questions. But now, it was too late. Some people swore that if you passed the abandoned food hut at night, you could still hear the sound of a wooden spoon stirring in an empty pot. But nobody ever dared to check. One evening, an old man sat watching young boys buying food from another vendor. He shook his head. "This is why we must be careful where we eat," he said. "Not all food is just food. Some meals come with spirits, others with secrets. Always know the hands that prepare your food." And so the legend of Abeni, the woman who sold food by the roadside but was a ghost from another city, lived on. Papilo never married again, but every time he looked at his sons, he knew Abeni's spirit still lived through them.